Hey there. Today's microproject is going to be making iex sessions in Phoenix applications less of a pain. So right now we're inside of a Phoenix application called Hello Phoenix, and Phoenix is a web application framework written in the Elixir programming language. And the REPL for Elixir is called iex, and if you want to use it inside of a Phoenix application, you can pass this -x mix flag, and it'll drop you in and load up the Phoenix environment. So what I want to be able to do inside of here is to simply call this line to run this command to get all of the users. So our first problem here is that the from function is undefined, which can be fixed with importing this from function from ecto query. And if we try it again, it will complain that module user is not available, because actually user and repo are both namespaced underneath Hello Phoenix. So the correct line would look like this. And now this does what we want to, but if we close out of iex, we pop back in, and we even try to run the really verbose Hello Phoenix version here, this will blow up because our from is undefined again. And we can import, we can do the Hello Phoenix repo all again, and that works. But our shortened version here still doesn't work. So if we alias these, if we alias Hello Phoenix repo and Hello Phoenix user, that basically makes each of those available as the module name on the end. So the first one is available just as repo, the second available just as user. And if we rerun our short version again, we don't have our import now. We rerun that again. With the import and the two aliases, the shortened version works. So the import brings us the from function that's getting called up there, from you and user. And the two aliases are aliasing repo, which is basically the way that we get at our database in a Phoenix application. It uses ecto, the library called ecto. And user is our ecto model that represents our users. So those are kind of the three components there. We've got this import that we have to do. We've got the repo and the user. So let's kind of go over what we're dealing with. So you just saw the pain that we're running into. Our problem here is that there's lots of extra typing in this iex session. So this is effectively what we just did, and the goal would be to accomplish this instead with that shortened version that we saw, which would require, when we're starting a new iex session in the Phoenix app, to automatically do that import, alias the repo, and alias all of the models. So the solution here is to use what's called a .iex.exs file, which if you have a .bashrc or a .pry.rc or something like that, it's the same idea. This file, if it's sitting in the directory that you open iex in, when you open iex, it will run the contents of this file. So you can basically put stuff that you want run first into this file. So we're going to make use of that, but we're going to write a script that creates this file and populates it with the three things from above, the import and all the aliases. So the pieces here are to write that import call, which is going to be static. We just want that ecto from function. Write the repo aliasing, and write the aliasing for each of the models. The second component here requires that we're going to need to find the module name for the app. This is going to vary app to app, and we just want a script that we can drop into a Phoenix application, run, and it will figure all of this out for us and just generate us a .iex file. So for the other one, we're going to need to get the file names for each of the models, and we're going to need to transform those into model names. Now, actually, we're basically going to be using two different methods here. We can basically apply the approach that I'm going to use in the second piece in the third one, but I'm just kind of using this as an excuse to show a little bit more of Elixir here. And also the transformations that we're going to be doing kind of remind me of something that is frequently done in Ruby and Rails, and so I kind of wanted to replicate it here and see how I could implement it in Elixir. And with that, let's go. So the first thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a script to do this. So we'll call this new phoenix.iex.exs. And this script that we're going to write here is going to generate the .iex file that iex is going to use. So to kick things off, we're going to do a shebang at the top, and this just tells when we run this file what we want to execute it with. So this basically just tells it to execute with Elixir. Let's just do a test here to make sure this works. We're going to say that this is an executable file, and we're going to run it, and we get foo. So that's working. All right, so let's kind of get the boilerplate of our application in here, and I'm just going to steal kind of a to-do from over here. Alright, so these are our pieces that we want, and then at the end we're going to write this out to a file. So we're going to, let's make our contents string for the file here, and then in Elixir we've got a file module we can call write on it. We can pass it the file name, and we're going to want to use double quotes. I keep forgetting to do that coming from Ruby. And we're going to pass what we want to be written. So this will write this text to this file. So we should be able to run this and look at the contents, and there's our foo. Just to prove it, we've got this here. Let's do it again. Look inside with cat, and sure enough, we've got bar. Okay. So this is going to be the text that we dump in, and so we've got our three pieces. So let's just kind of stub these out right now. So we've got our import text, we've got our repo alias, we've got our model aliases, and then we can put those up here. And then let's just do this. And Elixir has string interpolation like Ruby, so we can, inside of a string, we can just drop things in with this pound curly brace syntax, which is really handy. And so this will just kind of separate our different pieces really nicely. And before we test this, let's just put the import in. Since this is static, this will be one thing crossed off the list right away. Ecto query only from to. So this imports from ecto query the from method or from function with arity2, which means it takes 2 arguments, and it only pulls that one in. So now if we run this again, it should write just that to the file in a bunch of new lines. Sure enough, there we go. We've got import, and we've got a bunch of new lines after it. Okay, so with that accomplished, we can move on to figuring out how to do our repo aliasing. So this text is going to be we want the app module name in here, .repo. And so this piece is what we're going to need to find. So to get our app module, we're going to want to open up the what is it? Mix.exs. So right here, this guy. This is what we want. We want to pull this text out of this file. mix.exs. So let's just forget about this for the moment. And we can do file read mix.exs, and this will read the file. And we can do io.puts to see this in action. And there it is. It's dumping, I believe. Yes. Well, it's in there. Yeah. So we want to take this and pass it into something that pulls out the module name for us. So here is a handy piece of Elixir syntax, which is called a pipe. And what this does is it takes the thing above it, the thing before it, and passes it in as the first argument to the next function. Which actually, wait, no, strike that. We don't want that here. I take that back. Here we're going to want to just get the contents to start with. We'll see the pipe in a minute yet. So we'll just say this is the text from the mix.exs, and we're going to get the app module out of it by using the regex module run and using a regular expression. If you haven't seen regular expressions, I'll do a video on them later, but essentially it's a way of pattern matching, and in this case it's particularly handy because we can match on particular groups and pull something specific out of a piece of text. So we've got this giant string that is the contents of this file, and all we want is the thing that follows after def module. And specifically, we want the first bit before that period. If you'll remember here, we've got .mix file after it. We don't want that. We just want this guy. So to do that, we can make a group with parentheses. We can use a word group, and we say we want one or more of those. And so this is what it's going to match on, and that's what we want to get out of it. And the word will match on upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and underscores. So that works for us. And we're going to want to pass it the text. The order this works in is regex run takes a regex and a string. So, okay, so let's see what this gets us. Here's where we use the pipe. We're going to send this to IO puts. And before we've used this a couple times just to output a few things, and we've always passed it something. Here we're not going to give it any arguments. That's because this pipe will take the output from this, and it will pass it into IO puts as the first argument. So let's see how this works. Not particularly well. Regex run 3. I did this earlier, but I'm doing this off the top of my head, so bear with me a moment. No function clause matches in regex.run 3. I don't know why it thinks it's taking 3 arguments. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. Welcome to programming, everyone. Take it out, let's see if it complains. Nope, it just doesn't like that that's unused. So it's definitely this line. I'm not sure why. No function clause matching in regex.run 3. I'm looking up here for the record, and regex.run /3 means that it's taking 3 arguments, and I don't know what the third argument would be. I intend to be passing it to. What am I not seeing here? Let's see what's in there. It doesn't. Okay. I'm not sure how I was doing this earlier, not having this exact same problem, but I think I see what's going on now. Oh, okay. Okay. I was not reading this properly. I'm using read instead of read bang. And that's precisely what I wanted to happen, I think. Yeah, so this is actually pretty helpful, because this is kind of the way that it goes. There's 2 different kinds of functions here, one with and without a bang, an exclamation point. The bang functions throw an error, and the non-bang functions return what's called a tagged tuple. So what I was seeing before here at the top, which I kind of noted but didn't pay attention to, is this part right here. This is the tagged tuple part. It succeeded in opening the file, so it returned a tuple of 2 elements. The first element is the atom OK to signal that it is OK, and then the second element is the string that I wanted. And I ignored that and kept going. What I wanted was read bang, which instead, were it not OK, would raise an exception, raise an error instead, and in which case you wouldn't need to, potentially switch on that tag tuple. So with that, we should be able to go back to this guy and have no problem. Okay, there we go. We've got our def module, and then we've got Hello Phoenix twice, which is kind of ridiculous and not helpful. So what we're going to do is we're going to pipe this to inspect first, run it again, and then that actually outputs what we wanted to see. Inspect takes a object and turns it into its string representation, which is helpful here because it's the string representation of an array, which makes this a little easier to understand. So at this point, we've got our, coming out of this regex run, we've got we've got a two element list, one with the def module, one with just the string that we want, and so we need to pick that off. And we're going to keep, we don't want this inspect and this puts in here for the actual end result, but we'll leave it in to let it keep showing us what we've got so far. So again, we've got that list. We want to grab the last element off of it, and we've got Hello Phoenix. So with that dumped into app module, we should be able to use this now and get rid of this guy. And with that, it's putting it into the repo alias text, which is being used below, which is getting written to the file. So if we run this, and then we take a look, sure enough, we've got our alias for Hello Phoenix repo. Then with that, we are on to the last step, which is aliasing for each of the models. So in this portion, we're going to need to do a little bit more work because there's going to be some additional transformations and stuff that we'll have to do. So our first step is to get all of the model file names, which we will convert into the corresponding module name for the models. It's important to note here that I fully realize that we could do the exact same thing that we did above and just open each of them and grab the module name, but that's we've already done that above, so just to kind of switch things up, we're going to take a different approach and convert the file names into the model names. So first we're going to, actually we're going to want to leave that string there to not break the stuff below. But first we're going to need all of the file names. And for that, we can use the path module, which lets you do different things regarding, pathing to local files. And we can use the wildcard function to get all of the contents, all of the files in the web models directory. And let's print that out and see what we get. And there we have it. We've got comment, we've got post, and we've got user. And if we look, that's exactly what we've got in that directory. Okay, so now we're going to want to do something for each of those file names. Which means that we're going to iterate over them, which is commonly done with the enum, which stands for enumerable module in Elixir. And we are going to want to do something to each of them and then keep the result for each of them. So we're going to use the map function. And then the first argument to map is the collection that we're iterating over, and then the second argument is a function that does something to each of them. This is exactly the same if you've worked with like jQuery or underscore Ruby. It's the same concept. So we're going to define a anonymous function here that starts off with fn, has an argument list after it, an arrow to denote the body of the function, and then an end. So inside of here is the anonymous function contents. And then we're going to want to bring this up here because this is what we'll print from. So first off, we are going to, well, let's just see what we've got in here. We're piping this m to inspect inputs. So here we go. So we're starting off with the string that is the path. So again, let's just use a regex as the quickest way to get this out of here, to get the piece out that we need. And again, the W is word. This is a word character one or more times, and a word can be any letter, upper or lowercase, number, or underscore, which is helpful in this case because we might have those in a file name. So any one of those characters followed by a period and .ex. And we're going to pass in the model name there, and let's see what we get. All right, so here we go. We've got our we've got a list for each of those iterations over it. And the first one is the full file name, and the second one is the second element is the captured group that we want. So again, let's use our list.last to pluck that out. And there we go. We've got comment, post, user, and now we're going to want to transform that again, and we're going to want to capitalize it, so we can use the string capitalize function to do just that. And with that, we have all of our model names, which we will need to put into alias strings now. So let's say the return from this is our models. And then we're going to want to make our model alias text the actual alias strings for each of these, which is to say alias at module dot model. And to do that, we are again going to use our enum map, this time passing in models to iterate over. And instead of a function here, actually we'll do a function first. We'll do function model, and then let's see what this gives us. This should actually do it, I think. Okay, it almost did it. So the problem there is that we will need to enum join those with a new line. As you can see, they're all run together. We passed it a list actually, and it just kind of dumped them all together. If we do an enum join here, we can make a string where they're new lines separated. Let's go back a step. That works. This is a gotcha I ran into before, and this is really not a helpful error message for this. There's probably no way to actually catch that this is what the error actually is, so it's not a slam on Elixir or anything, but no function clause matching an enumerable function reduce 3 doesn't really help you in showing that what you actually need here is to surround this with parentheses. The reason why is that if you don't have them, what it ends up doing is this, which is piping. It's piping the function, the anonymous function, into enum join, and then it's not what we want. So if we do this, run it again, check in cat. There we go. We've got all of our aliases for all of our models. So that is kind of it, except that there are a couple different problems here with our kind of version 1.0 of this script. And let's just kind of annotate this a little bit. The little problem is that we write over the .iex file, which might be a problem if users are writing something to that file themselves. We can fix this by passing this list with a single element append atom. And if we run this again and then check the contents, we can see that we're appending onto it, which isn't really an ideal fix here necessarily, but it at least doesn't overwrite what's already inside of it. For the sake of testing though, we will remove that and go back up here and take a look. Let's take a look at what happens when we have, let's say we have a model called foobar that has an underscore in it. And let's see what happens when we run this now. What did I break? Let me see if that did it. That might have done it. Sure enough. Yeah, it exploded. So that's bad, but what's worse is it wouldn't capitalize it properly. For example, it would be in here, and let's say we've got foo bar. This is going to turn into, best case, foo bar, because we're just capitalizing. But even worst case, it's completely blowing up. So instead of just capitalizing here, what we're going to do is we're going to break it apart at the underscore, capitalize all elements in that list, and then join them back together, which will capitalize the F and the B appropriately and give us foobar instead. So right here in list last, we've got our underscore foo underscore bar, which is what we want to be working with, and then we're going to use. Let's actually, before we do this, let's do inspect and IOPuts so that we can see what we've got here. Yeah, it doesn't like that. And I wonder if it's blowing up on something else. So let's see. Yeah, no, it's not matching on list last because the regex isn't matching anything, which makes me curious. Let's pass this M down the pipe. Oh, I just realized what I did wrong. Okay, so let's do this again. There, I didn't put a .ex on the end of it, which was wrong. Okay, so in this situation, here we go. Our code works in that it doesn't error out, but we've got this improperly capitalized foobar alias. That's the case that we want to be working on. So let's do our IOPuts again and work from here. Okay, so we're working with these strings, and we want to make sure the foobar is capitalized correctly. So first, we're going to split the strings apart on underscore. And in the case of everything but foobar, this just makes a single element list with the model name. Foobar hasn't broken apart. So we don't really care about the others. We're going to operate on all of these lists together, and we can just iterate over them and capitalize each. So we'll do enum map and remember at this point we're working with the list. This is what we're getting back. We're actually getting a list of lists back. And so in this enum, this is what we're going to be working with. And so we're going to want to just capitalize each of these. So the first element, since we're piping, is going to be the collection, and the element that we're working on is going to be this kind of list. And so we don't have to pass the collection because that's getting passed through the pipe. And the function that we want to do is each string, we're going to want to string capitalize that. And let's see how that works. There we go. We've got comment, foo, bar, post, and user. Another thing here, since this isn't particularly complicated, we're just taking the argument and passing it. We're just taking this parameter and passing it into string capitalize, and then throwing that argument in there. We can actually do this instead, kind of succinctly with a kind of a shortcut for anonymous functions. We do an ampersand, and then anything following it is a function, and we can use ampersand 1 to denote the argument. So actually, technically, this is kind of wrapped. Just give some white space so you can see this. So this is kind of this right here is equivalent to the anonymous function. But as you can see, it's much shorter. And since we're already doing this in line here, I'm just going to use that so that we have the added succinctness. So this gets us back our elements, and now we don't want lists, we want strings, and we want foo and bar specifically to be joined together. So we can use enum join again and just join on nothing, and that'll dump them together. And actually, with that, I think there we have it. We've got that done. Just real quick though, as another instance of where we can use this anonymous function syntax, just kind of look at this this anonymous function and think how you would rewrite that. It's pretty simple, in terms of being shorter at least. We get rid of function end, and we drop this guy in here. And the benefit is that it's shorter. I would say the drawback is that this is the parameter and the arguments inside of the function also become anonymous in a way in that they're just numbered, and you lose a little bit of kind of semantics here, in that you don't really, I think it would be easy to kind of lose track of what the ampersand 1 stands for and what it's doing here. But otherwise, it's nice that it's shorter. So yeah, there is our script that writes our .iex file and imports ecto, aliases the repo, and aliases all of the models. And actually, let's see it in action before we quit. If we get rid of let's get rid of our fake one first, and then rerun that and check. There we go. Now we just have the real models being aliased. And if we open up our iex again and we try our repo.all, we've got users. So this has the from imported, the repo aliased, and user aliased, all via our .iex. And if we run it again same thing. So, I hope this was helpful. Even if you aren't interested in Elixir, I hope it was at least interesting to see kind of a glimpse into the language. I think that the functional aspects and the piping are at least really interesting from what we did today. If you have any questions or comments, anything you'd like to see me elaborate on or do a subsequent video on, please let me know. I'll be answering any questions you have, and I look forward to hearing from you. So I think that's it. I'll see you tomorrow.